Okay guys, we are heading down the home stretch. We've got, as you can see, we got the feed lines in, and we've got the, let me pull back a little bit, got the returns in. We're going to put the rest of this stuff together and tidy up a few things. We've got to tighten some plugs that I left loose for various reasons. Got to put some sensors in, got to put the heater in, and get ready to actually put the engine back in the truck. It's getting pretty exciting. So let me pause it and get set up. We'll start doing stuff. Okay guys, we'll get this gasket with the strainer out of the master kit. Fit it down in here like that. All right. Ready for the cover, the top half of the cover. Stand by. Actually, I had a piece of tape stuck to the gear. This goes in like that. Oh, it's actually got cobweb on it. Guess it's been a while. Let me blow it off with some air. Hang on. Alrighty. Got the cobweb off. Set her on there. Now the lid, let me get that. Okay, the seal for the cover, pretty much the same thing. Just want to make sure you don't you may have to stick it with some grease. Yeah, stand by. Oops, our old standby, that transmission assembly grease. Let's see if we can get this in now. That's a miracle. All right. These short ones just hold the lid to the extension. Now we got the long ones like this. Hold everything together. I gotta clean the rest of them. Hang on a sec. Alrighty. These two were for the engine cover. We're going to use them to mount our regulator, fuel regulator. Alright, let's spin those in. The short ones are T30 and the long ones are just 10 millimeter. If the gasket's in place or not, let's take a peek. Let's take a peek and see. Well, it's not now, so stand by. Silly thing. It's fun working around this camera too. Hang on. Okay, this time we got the gasket in straight. Just didn't feel like it was in right, so we'll put a couple of these long ones in, spin them in. That'll hold everything together while we put the rest of them in. Okay, 18 foot-pounds. All right, that's in. All right, guys, the next thing to install is our high pressure oil lines. These are from CNC Fab, and I got them through full force diesel. And one goes in like that. One goes in like this. Okay, so let's get these in. So basically we're going to pull these fittings out. We're going to put these in before we finish the front half of the fuel system so we can work around them. Tell you what, mixing of metric and standard makes it really interesting. Anyways, these fittings come apart. Okay. That one's going to go in here. And let me show you. It does have an O-ring on it. Be sure the O-ring's on it. If I can get it to start. There we go. No need for any sealer because it's got an O-ring on it. And the other one, the other end goes in here. I've got these plugs in here temporary just to keep the dirt out. And it's going to go in here and probably not fit because it's going to hit on the manifold. Yep. Okay, looking at this fitting, it's more or less a bulkhead fitting, so that means this will unscrew out of here, and the seal is actually taking place here. So it's more or less well, if I can get the focus, more or less adjustable. So we're going to screw it in as far as it will go, and then screw that nut down to get it tight. Hope that makes sense, and hope it won't leak. So that's as far as we can go. So we back it out this way, screw this nut down, tighten her up like that. Okay. I was a bit concerned about that because it was the AN side goes here. And then this is going to curve around to this side. So we'll line that up. Here we go. These are some pretty quality lines. Pretty good quality. And we'll tighten these up with wrenches. Now let's route the other one. It's going to go in over here on this one. Let me break these loose real quick and we'll put it together. Alright, let's take this out, if I can get it out. And once again, this is more or less a bulkhead fitting. You can get the fitting where you want it and then tighten this nut down to seal it. So let's put the nut all the way up. Alright, let's see what we got here. Alright, that's good temporary side. That'll fit. And this side takes a 45 over here, so let's put that in. 45 should go in without all the way down. Not too much trouble. If I can get it to start. There it goes. And then the hose goes between two AN fittings, so it don't matter which way direction it goes. That's one. Ooh. One thing about these lines, they're rather stiff. And they claim that they work for our Power Stroke engines because they can withstand the heat cycles, you know, shrinking and expanding a lot better than a standard hydraulic line. Because a standard hydraulic line is not built for that. It's built for pressure only, not heat cycles. Okay, so we're gonna tighten these up and move on. Let me get the torque figures for this. So according to CNC, the torque for this fitting, the head fittings, is 20, 21, 23? Hang on a second. Okay, 23. We're going to have to use a crow's foot. And the trick to using the crow's foot is the crow's foot has to be 90 degrees from the wrench to maintain an accurate reading. So we'll set her at 90 degrees from there. This fitting goes in at 23. So we'll set the wrench for 23. Now we can't use the ratchet on the wrench because it'll change the angle and it will not give us an accurate reading. So we're going to have to use an extension. Stand by. And like I said, as long as you remain at 90 degrees, you can use a torque wrench like normal. I'm going to take that off. So I can get this crow's foot in there. I think maybe. Yes. Kind of clumsy, but it's not undoable. Yeah, we'll turn off the fitting. Tell you what, let's do this. Let's snug her up and then we'll just do a final torque on it. That way we won't be trying to fight this fitting all the way in. Alright. That is 5/8, I believe. Yeah. So let's tighten her down. And then we'll just do a final torque on it and make sure it's at spec. Now, let's see how close we are. Seems kind of a crazy way to do it, but it does work. Longer extension. Okay. There we go, that's one. Crazy as it seems. That's good, okay. Now we need to get that one. Different size, of course. I don't have an 18mm crow's foot. Loosen that up. It's just a straight fitting, so you know what? It's a straight fitting. We're going to use a deep well socket. Stand by. Okay, pump fittings go to 28. So let's, and like I said, this is just a straight AN adapter, so we'll take her to 28. All right. All right. That's that. And the hose fittings go to 21. And once again, that'll be a crow's foot again. And like we did before, we're gonna tighten her up, starting with a wrench, because I don't want to mess with a crow's foot the whole time. Okay. Let's see what we can tear up. Do here. Keep the foot at 90 degrees from the wrench. Maintain 1-to-1. Oh, this will be fun. Alrighty. That's 15. Really getting tight.
How much left you got to do? You have to do one there. You're almost done, aren't you?
Yep. Right, that's one.
Got them washing the floor. Do this one.
Alright, that's one. Okay, back to our 23 setting. I'll have to use the wrench left-handed. I gotta go from the other side. Leaning way over the engine there. Oops. Yeah. That's over there. I like to get them almost tight with that wrench. This would certainly be fun doing this out in the field. Now we'll do the hose fittings. Get that tight so we don't have to make it as little as possible here. Nope, not 5/8. Yep. It's kind of tight. And these only go to 21, so not nearly as tight as the pump fittings. All right. See if we can get in here and get this one. Always makes it a challenge. All right. All right. 21. That was surprisingly easy. There we go. Alright, very good. Okay, fuel line or high pressure pump fittings are in. Now we're going to mount this. I think we're going to hang it from here, make a bracket for it, hang it right. Yeah, see, I got this 90 here that has to clear the pump. Either, well, let me get around here where we can actually look at it. Got to work around the camera here. We're going to mount it this way. Now we're either bring the line up and it's going to go down this slot. Let me move the camera back. It's going to go down this slot That's where the fuel lines come up and tie into everything. Now I can either go like that at a 90 and down, or I can come out this way and loop it around. We'll have to figure that out. Let's get some measurements and make a bracket. Get this done. I don't know if I've spoken about a regulated return type of feed. I think we did. It's been a while. But basically, what you're doing, pump lines come up from the fuel pump and from the tank. We're putting aftermarket filters in because we don't have a fuel bowl anymore. The lines come up, the feed comes over, ties into this. This is the feed side. It's 3/8, and it goes into 3/8 stainless steel piping. There we go. 3-inch stainless steel piping that ties into the head. The engine sits not quite at this angle, but it's angled back to front. Front to back, whatever, doesn't matter. But anyways, so your fill from that end of the head, and you're going to, because you don't use all the fuel that the pump puts out, you have to return it to the tank. So it comes out of these fittings in the front of the head, comes up into this, both sides come up and tie into this regulator, and then this ties into the feed line that is the return. Actually, it's not a feed line, it's a return line, I'm sorry. Goes into the return line, and that goes back to the tank, dumps directly into the tank. And hence the name regulated return. We're going to regulate this pressure at probably 60 to 65 pounds. We may have to tune it a little depending on the injectors. And we're going to tie in our fuel pressure gauge that'll be in our gauge pod into this. So we will monitor this directly. This will tell us if filters need change. It'll tell us if there's a pump failure. It's just an all-around gauge that tells you the health of your fuel system. And everybody should have one. I don't care what kind of diesel you're running, whether it's a Power Stroke, Duramax, or Cummins. You need to have a fuel pressure gauge. These engines live by fuel pressure. And in the case of the Power Stroke, fuel pressure and high pressure oil. And that's how a regulated return works. So we've got to mount this thing. And I was thinking right around in here somewhere. Either that or we'll have to make, we're only using one of these glow plugs. We could mount it somewhere in here this way. But I think I like it hanging off the, well, let's make a bracket. We'll get some angle iron out or some straight iron and weld it up, and if we have to. I don't think we'll have to. I think we'll use a piece of angle iron. And we'll make it fit. This is where the old cover for the 7.3 went. And we'll use these studs to mount our regulator. So let's get that done. Okay guys, this cover is next. And you put a bead of silicone around the outside of it. The manual says 20 pound-feet of torque on these things. Seems like an awful lot for this little tiny screw. We'll check some other sources on that. Okay, we'll leave them hand tight. We'll come back and torque them in an hour. Next is this guy, which is a water outlet. Water outlet. The inlet's on the cylinder head. That goes to the heater. Let me find it and we'll stick it in. The O-ring for this fitting is included both in the water pump and in the master kit. So, pick one and use it. It don't matter. We're going to use our number 2. It's a pipe thread, so it's a three-quarter pipe thread. So it's get it tight. But you don't want to strip the aluminum. I mean, if you strip the aluminum, you're reefing on it way too hard. And I can't get a socket on it, so we're just going to use a wrench and get her tight. Let's get that set up. All right. Put a coat all the way around it on the starting threads. Put her in. Get a wrench. Okay, that fitting would not start. So I'm going to order a new one. interesting stuff. It says to put this these two in at 20 pound-feet. That's an awful lot of torque for that, I think. Little tiny bolt. We're going to go to 15 and see what it feels like. It's 15. Doesn't feel all that tight, so I guess let's go to 20. I guess I will go to 20. Alright, well, whatever. That's all the farther I'm going. Alright. Okay, I've cleaned up all these threads, and I don't see anything wrong with it. So I'm going to order a new piece for that. That ain't going to slow us down none. We can put that in once, if the engine's in, we'll put it in. We're trying to button this up so we can slide her in one of these days here, either tomorrow or the next day. We're going to join the transmission to the engine and put them in. Okay guys, I was mistaken. This is an O-ringed AN fitting, so it doesn't need any sealant. And Father was a tool and die maker, and I dug through his stuff, found this is called a thread file. Cleaned up the starting threads on it, and it has started, so we'll put her in. Took a minute to clean them up, but not a big deal. It's funny because pulled the original water pump out of this thing, screwed right in. Found an AN10, I think it's an AN10, fitting, screwed right into it. But it would not start into this aluminum fitting. And the AN10 fitting screwed right into this fitting. It's weird. But we're in now, so that should do it. Another thing we need to button up on the driver's side is these core plugs. Here's an old faithful number 2. Not going to put a torque wrench on them. They're pipe plugs. Just make them snug. The other side gets one plug and one fitting for the return of the water from the heater core. Let's set that up. Just like before. The starting threads only. Alright. Start it before I start spinning. This is a 2-part fitting, and we're going to end up with a stem sticking out this way that brings the water back in for the from the heater core. Yep, all right. And the other one is right here. Then we have this fitting. Comes out the front. I think that's good enough. All right. So we are getting on our way. I'm waiting on these top return lines to dry, and we'll be putting those in. And then I think we're ready to put sensors in. We've got tons of sensors to put in. And I'll get the sheet out and make sure we get the right ones in the right holes. But we are actually getting done. It's amazing. Almost ready to install. It's going in this week. I'm off this week. We're going to get this thing in this week. Okay, back to the top of the cylinder head. ICP fitting goes here. We need to put these two in. This one has an O-ring on it already. This one does not. These fittings take an O-ring, and that is the part number from Diesel O-rings, 4 to a pack, And let me get these on these fittings and we'll get them in. All right, let's put these fuel lines in here that I built. The way I have these configured is blue lines are returns, black lines are feeds. And once again, we're using the fiber lock fittings. There we go. And basically the way you do these is you remove the gap. It's a specially made fitting that once you get it down that close, there's no chance of it leaking. Let me get some wrenches here. This fitting is 9/16. And this tubing here is nothing but standard steel fuel line. I was going to powder coat it like I did the black ones, but ended up painting it instead. Believe me, by the time you get this thing cinched down, yeah, it's not going anywhere. And it's just an AN4 fitting right here. I use AN wrench for the AN fittings. I picked it up off of eBay. I think it was $10 or something like that. It doesn't scratch the finish. Now we got the other one. We get the fitting on it, the rubber on it. And as always, there's the rubber fitting with the jam nut on it. And our AN fitting on the other side. I had to remove this bracket that was in here to get this line. All right, there we go. It's tight. Cinch this one down. Okay. All right. That takes care of our fuel lines. Now it appears that this line is going to hit this bracket. Let me rearrange the camera and I'll show you it doesn't. There we go. Yeah, you can see the line does not hit the bracket. It was an interesting way to get those in there, but hey, they work. All right, we tightened these two bolts up here, and we are just about done. All right, let's get the sensors layout, and we'll put them in. And I can't think of anything else to do on it. We'll go over it real quick and make sure everything's good. We have to do the get these arranged. I got a picture of each valve cover, how it was before we took it apart. So we'll get those out, make sure all the studs and the bolts are in the right place to mount everything, and we'll be ready to join this to the transmission. We're not putting, like I said, we're not putting the turbo on to get the engine in because it'll stick up too high. And that's about it. Okay, and we won't be putting this, I'll show you. We won't be putting this sensor in because I'm not going to break it while we're putting the engine in because it sticks up. We'll put it in once it's in. And of course then, we're going to clean the bench off and get the wiring harness out, clean it, check every wire in it, make sure continuity is good, what it's supposed to be and all that good stuff. Eliminate the ones that we're going to not have sensors for, like this exhaust back pressure. We're not going to have that sensor. There's a tag for that, and there's the pedestal diverter. We don't have that because we don't have that type of turbo anymore. There's a couple of them, and we'll get those ready, and then we can do that after the engine's in. Put the harness in, because there's no connections in the back of the engine. They're all up front, which makes it nice.